is not being used as a reference, then it cannot accept this value to store the value. Then it should be defined with a reference, with a data type here, Okay, let's access this now. So here I am writing some string also, like I am saying that code and dollar and this function we are calling here. So the function we are calling. Okay, now I'm here defining, so class demo, let obj is equal to new demo. Okay, through the demo I am this obj I am accessing print. I am accessing the print again. We are printing that object print function is printed 3-4 times. 4 times we are printing the same. Now I will compile and run this here. And when I compile and run this, so here you can see it generates all random numbers. Right? So that means every time it is generating a random number, it is generating a complete random number. So that means we created the function in such a way. That the function, we created the function in such a way that function can be used as a reference to store value. How you can create a function as a reference to store values? By defining return type. So if you define return type, that means you are configuring as a reference for storing the value. That means directly the value is stored in that function. We are accessing the value. That means we don't need any reference for storing the value. Actually, I don't need to write this code. So to store the values and return the values. What I can do here is I can directly ask my function to return this entire value. Understood? I can directly ask my function to return this entire. That means its return type is a string. That means it is accessing and returning a string. Obviously, it is returning a string. That means it is evaluating. And whatever the value is returned, that return value is stored in its own reference. So function is used as a reference for storing your value, and you are accessing it so that it can handle it. That is how we have to configure the function. So I am compiling this one more time, and I am running this here. And you can see again random numbers will come. I am compiling these random numbers. Right, every time it returns random numbers. You run the same program again and again, it will return random numbers. So this is what actually the concept of how do we define a function? Why to define a function with a return type? Usually functions can return a value. That is actually the key point. But we discussed that in JavaScript and TypeScript, function have the behavior of both method and as well as function. It's like a procedure. In that case, you have to know why to define function as a function with a return type. So if you don't want to use function, if you don't want function to be used as a reference for storing values, then you can define it as void. And important is a function which is intended to store value must be defined with a return data type. It must be defined with a data type, and value values can be stored using return keyword, and values can be stored using return keyword. So that means here we have to define function. So function name and data type, and this is the function with any specific data type, and here we need to store the value into that. Then we have to define return, what value it should store. This return value, so return value must be the same type of value that you defined as data type. So the data type and the return value must be same. That is important. So if you have to understand work, then you need to use functions with return types. Now, if anyone asked in interview, like if anyone asked in an interview like a regular question like, can a void type function use return keyword? Can a void type function use return keyword? Can you use return keyword in a void function? Can you use return keyword in a void function? Can you answer? Can you use void type? Can a void type function use return keyword? You have any answer? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So a void function also can use this return keyword. Yes. Answer is yes. Because actually return is not a keyword. A return is not just. I am asking void can use return keyword or not. Void type function can use return keyword or not. That's what I am asking. Right. Here the point is, of course, why not? Because return is a jump statement. See, return is a jump statement. Return is a jump statement. Return is a jump statement. So it is used. It can be used in any function, to terminate the compilation. So that means the code written after the return keyword, after the return statement is not reachable. That is actually is not reachable to compiler. A void also can have return. That means here a void can also have return. So this is an example for our program. This is an example for return type. Okay. A void also can have. For example, suppose we are defining here. So let's go and specify that here. Suppose I am defining here a function. So sample is a function. So this sample function, its return type is defined as void type. And here it is having console.log statement 1. And console.log we have statement 2. Like this we have console log statement 3. We have statement 3. 3 statements are there. And this function this function